Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Obnoxiously Pleasant. I'm Hanan.
I'm Lina. You make me do this all the time.
Doing this, guys, but I love it. I'm so excited. Today we have a very special guest, Palestinian American author, Sara Hamdan. Sara, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you with us today.
Hello, Lina and Hanan. I'm the one who's excited to be here today. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on. Today we're going to be discussing Sara's book, What Will People Think? Yes. Very provocative title, and I absolutely love it. Can you tell us a little bit about the title and why, and a little bit about yourself and about the book? And I'm just going to give you the mic and tell us all about you.
Amazing. I'm just so excited to be here to talk to you about this, because I'm guessing that part of the reason why this appealed to you is that Arab girl trauma that we all had of shura hayulun nas, what will people think about every single decision you make? And I felt it a lot when I was in my college years and early 20s. And it's just every big decision that you make, from what you want to study to who you want to marry to, later on how you're going to raise your kids. It's all about what will people think and how will people say. It's like there's this jury of faceless people that are going to be judging and watching what you do. So I wanted to just poke fun at that a little bit. And I thought, what better way to do that than through comedy? Because comedians say things that kind of can be inappropriate or too candid or bold, but they say them and people laugh, but you hear it. So I just thought it was a really nice way to tackle cultural stereotypes. And the novel is told in two different timelines. The first one is Mia. She's Palestinian American. She's in her early 20s and she's just navigating her love life. She moonlights as a stand-up comedian. And then she discovers her grandmother's diary that dates back to Jaffa, Palestine in 1947. And she discovers her grandmother had an illicit love affair. So the book is really just a coming of age story for two different women in two different time periods. And it just shows you how the decisions we make do reflect on us individually, but also our families. And at the end of the day, love is love, and we should be able to love who we want to love.
And I absolutely love that. Can I tell you, and I love that you said coming of age. So growing up, like my favorite book when I was like in 10, maybe 5th grade was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume.
Judy Blume.
Yeah.
I love
so
that
I
one.
love that book, but I also feel like this for me, and I was just telling Lina, I'm like I got, by the time I got to like the last like 3 pages, I was just reading these pages like in tears,
Yes.
right? And I absolutely love that, because I felt like, oh my God, look, somebody wrote a story about like for us, like by us, for us. And I always say that on podcasts. I love people who do it for us, who do it for our culture, who do it for our people, for our language. It was so beautiful. And so for me, I was like, look, it's like our own little Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Because I loved that growing up. It taught me a lot about, it talked about a lot about things that were taboo, that your mom may not have necessarily spoken to you about. And I kind of felt that in this book. Like Mia feels like she is different. Like she's not like her friends. She's not like, she talks about Katie, who is her best friend, and she loves her. She really does love Katie, but she knows that there's a lot of differences between her and Katie. The things that Katie does like, Mia may not necessarily be into.
She's just not going to get certain things. I think.
Exactly.
And I think we've all been through that, like as, Arab Americans, growing up here, especially, like you have friends in high school,
yes,
everywhere you go, but like, and then you have your Arab friends who just automatically get
it. And you meet them later. And it's funny because
Yeah.
it's so like when I read stuff, I usually like bookmark, like I basically fold pages. And there was one page here that I loved. And I put this here because like it stood out to me. And it goes, Maya goes, I smiled, grateful for my 2 new friends, for my 2 new dysfunctional Arab friends. At least I had found them amid the storm. And I love that so much, because I'm like, oh my God, I think every single one of us had that moment in life where you're like, oh my God, I found my people, my tribe.
Yeah.
But that kind of leads me to my next question. The character is I loved her in so many ways, and her family and her grandparents and just everything. How much of that, if any at all, is like drawn from real life experiences for you?
I love this question. And I've gotten some reviews that say, what a bold memoir. And I'm like, but it's not me, guys.
Fiction.
Yeah.
It's not me. My grandmother didn't have an affair with a British soldier. But I wanted to just say about what you were saying about female friendships before.
Yeah.
my friendships have always been so important to me. I'm actually still in touch with my high school friends. We have a WhatsApp group. We talk all
That's
the
so
time. I love
cute.
the friendship that you two have. And I
Oh,
think as
thank
you're getting
you.
older, like I'm in my 40s now, and I invest so
Welcome
much
to
of
the club,
myself.
girl.
Yeah, I know. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Um,
Exactly.
I invest so much of myself and my energy into my friendships because they are sacred. So this, I wanted to reflect that friendly love in my book, the platonic love that you feel for a really good female friend. And that's where the friendship with Katie comes. That's where she discovers the dysfunctional Arab friendship and how that hits different when she meets Phaedra, because you finally feel like you found somebody who is a misfit like you in all the same ways. And it's
Girl,
so
we have
rare.
all had a Phaedra in our
Hmm.
lives. Every single, I feel like every single.
Hanan is my Phaedra.
Okay, when you guys read this book, I am not living my best life like Phaedra is. Okay.
Yes, you are. Yes,
I
you
am.
are.
I am.
Yes,
I
you
am living
are.
my best. We all have a Phaedra in our lives. And I love that because I really do feel like Katie is amazing and she brings all of these positive qualities. And it's wonderful to have that friend that, that really like holds you down. But I don't think Phaedra would have ever done to Mia what Katie did to her. Like she wouldn't have put her out like
That's
that.
true.
She wouldn't have just printed a story about her without like telling her.
Yeah.
Even if she thought she was doing her a favor, I don't think she would have done that because we think, we being like Arabs, right? With your Arab friends, like, what are people going to think? Like,
Yeah.
are they going to be okay with that? Is somebody in her family going to read this? Is somebody, going? We think about everything.
We think of all the possibilities
Yes.
and all the ways it can go wrong.
Exactly.
before we do anything.
Exactly. Now I have on that, I have a very important question for you. Because as I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, I can so relate because I am an Arab American, right? How do you with yes, the story's written in English, right? But there's so much reference in there to like, the village where Mia's grandmother is from in Palestine, where there's specific words. How do you approach that for somebody who has like nothing to relate to when it comes to that stuff?
Yeah, so this was the tricky thing. And this is what I loved so much about what you said earlier, that this kind of felt to you like the Judy Bloom,
Yeah.
because we never see ourselves reflected in these stories. So this was something that I think is part of the reason why it took me so long to get the story published, because I didn't have the confidence that this could actually be something that could go mainstream.
Yeah.
Is this
I'm so
something I'm
glad you
writing
did.
just for me? Is this the whole like, oh, writing is cheaper than therapy kind of thing? I need to just get it out there. But then, at the end of the day, I think there were a couple of things that happened. One is I won a Netflix award for a short scene from this novel where Phaedra and Mia are talking to each other about how strange and weird and wonderful and difficult it is to be a Palestinian American
Yep.
at that time, and in New York specifically, and all of the feelings and the cultural stereotyping and all of that. So I thought, okay, I'm onto something here that could lead to something bigger. And that was the first nudge. And the other thing was just the timing. I think nowadays we're seeing a lot more stories from all around the world that do well. It's not so, I want to say, Eurocentric anymore in the same
Yeah,
way as when we
you're
were
right.
growing up. So all the best references for literature. I mean, as a writer, of course, I love to read. So growing up, I loved the Jane Austens and the Margaret Atwoods, and I still love them. I adore them. It's the benchmark. But we never had variety. And I don't even like to say diversity, because actually great stories come from all over the world. It's just this one happens to focus on a family that it's told through their Palestinian cultural lens. And that's fine, because a great story is a great story.
Yes,
I totally
yeah.
agree with you.
I just wanted to, there's two parts to the book, and I was telling Hanan before I'm like, Hanan, don't spoil it for the people who didn't.
I can't
read
help it.
Okay.
I can't. It's spoiled. I'm
But
just
there's
kidding.
the book goes between the past and present, right? And as a Palestinian, like, I'll be honest with you, I loved the stuff about Palestine before the
As a
Nakba.
non-Palestinian,
I know, but
I
like
loved
it
it.
was like, I was actually like, I love both.
Yeah.
I loved the present, but I'll be honest with you, I loved when you took me back. Like, even as sad as it was so like before, especially before the Nakba, and how life was,
Yeah.
and how ordinary and how beautiful it was, just simple and just people doing everyday things.
But can I tell you that I loved this? It's funny that you say that, because I loved it for the same reason. But it
Yeah.
also made me realize something, that in times of war, we focus on people the people obviously who are dying. We focus on all the destruction. We don't realize that people have, for lack of a better term, whole as lives. They have all these things happening, feelings, emotions. And I love how human you just made everybody seem, right? Humans. They're just humans. They're people like you, like me. They're just living their life. And then this shitstorm takes place and they're they have to run off and they're misplaced and they lose their family and they lose everything. And I don't think we look at it from that lens a lot. And so it really made me think a lot about like when I see like videos, when I'm looking on Instagram or when I reshare about what's happening in Gaza right now, because these people have lives. They're people. They're humans. We just see them
they
as
have lives, dreams, hopes,
everything,
like aspirations, ambitions, everything.
And so like I'm gonna cry right now.
Don't cry. This is a good moment. Don't cry.
This is my favorite interview ever. You guys completely understand. Look, I have
It's true.
goosebumps.
It's so true.
It's
so
exactly what you're saying. And it's just, you forget that we're talking about people with everyday
people.
Normal loves and lives. And I think it's so hard, especially when you have Palestinian heritage, but when you come from anywhere in the world and you realize just how insane what we're watching every day is, and then having to represent or talk about it or justify or whatever. It's just human beings. It's human beings 100%. Who deserve to eat and to live and to hug their moms and just all the normal things that even we take for granted. And it's, I love what you said about the village scenes. And part of it is I wanted to kind of give a tribute to my own grandmother, who told me about what it was like in her childhood growing up when everything was quite normal. And
exactly.
And I wanted to preserve some of that beauty. Can we tell a story about Palestine that has joy and beauty for once? Because we never get that. I never got it.
Yeah, I so love that.
But see, I want to follow up on that, because like for me, like I've seen any Palestinian filmmaker or writer or author, I'm the first person to support, right? But there's a part of me, and I always say this to like my close friends, I wish we can just have something like a piece of art, whether it's a movie, a book, a show, where it's not us getting killed, just us living our lives. Joy is resistance. Like I know, like do you know what I mean? Like it's just,
it's not mutually exclusive. This doesn't have to be, like this is complementary. It's just showing different sides, and I think we just don't get to see this one ever.
That's
it's
the
so
thing.
rare.
Yeah,
and
but go ahead.
And it's amazing to me. There's so many things that I loved about this book, and one of them, again, I will go back to what I said earlier, which is like I love people who do it. It took me a minute to collect myself. I love people who do it for our language, for our culture.
Tears. You have really beautiful feelings around this, and your heart is just so big.
Well, I did. By the way, not to interrupt, but I was telling Hanan, like yesterday, I woke up, I was in the worst mood, and I was just so depressed. And I was telling her I got all my crying out done yesterday. And like just every day you get on the phone and you see these things, and I'm just like, why is this still happening? Why is this being allowed to happen? So you're crying today because you didn't have the crying session.
It's not just that. It's like when I look at like what you like when I read this book, I'm like, this book has. Just as a human being, I love things that humanize us as a people, because we're beautiful people. We love music. We have wonderful food. We have a beautiful culture. We have a beautiful language. We're so expressive. And your episode makes me think a lot about an interview we did with a publisher named and an author named Edem Sergani, who's just he's half Egyptian and half American, and he said something really important, which is, we are not represented like in this world, in the community of like authors and submissions and all of this. We're not represented as a people. So when Lina told me, hey, we're doing this interview with this, Palestinian American author, and her name is Sara Hamdan, and she's going to send us the books, I was so excited, because I'm like, okay, I'll give this a shot. I'll give it a read. And I have to say, I'm usually like a historical nonfiction girly, right? Mm. But this, from like page 8, I was just sucked in. I was in a zone. And like I told you, I loved it because the child inside of me was like, oh my God, this is somebody who completely understands our like us, our experience. This is representative of our experience. Whether you live in New York City, whether you live in Middle America, whether you live in Los Angeles, wherever it is. I don't care if you're Egyptian. I don't care if you're Palestinian. I don't care if you're Syrian. This represents the story of like an immigrant, a child of immigrants, the things that you face, the dual identity, the
and
language, undocumented immigrants, the language barriers, just so many things. And like I said, it took me back to being like that 10-year-old that picked up "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret," and I was like, God, I wish this was around when I was 10, 11, 12, coming of age, and have something to read and say like, okay, you know what? Here's something that represents me. It's okay to be me exactly the way that I am.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, everything that you're saying is what I wanted a reader to feel. So this means everything to me.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, just honestly. And it has been so hard to talk about this book that's about a Palestinian American comedian at a time when all of this stuff is going on in the news at the same time. So it means a lot that you're saying this, because you understand. It's about kind of showing the humanity of it, the joy, the love, but also the women at different stages of their life. Like, you are seeing a young woman and a grandmother. It appeals to such a wide, range of women, and the Arab American experience, but also the immigrant one. I've gotten so many incredible messages from people who say, oh my God, this could easily be about my aunts in Mexico or India or whatever. There's like a nice universality to it, but it's told through a very specific lens of that Arab experience. And we know, we've lived it.
Exactly. And I love that. Now I want to ask you like a little bit more of a technical question. I want to understand like what is because I read your I read that blog, but I also read the sort of like, the message that you to your sister and to your husband. And I thought it was so cute, which led me to think about your writing process. Like, what did that look like? Because you're like, he was the one who read your drafts. Your sister read, your drafts. So like, how did you structure it? Did you know that, okay, I wanted to do this juxtaposition? Did you just want to tell your grandmother's story and then Mia came later? How did this come about?
By the way, I got so many comments from people saying this was the longest acknowledgement section ever. And I was like, well, I have 10 years of
Did you tell them, guys, I'm brown, I'm Arab? It could have been the whole book.
You should have seen my wedding list. It was like, we have a lot of people to thank and include. I wish that I had a more, studied answer to this. But the reality is I was a tired working mom who just really needed a creative outlet. And 2 young children, pandemic, full-time job, burned out. This was me trying to uplift myself and bring some joy into my house. So my writing process sometimes would include me hiding out in the pantry with the lights turned off and writing on my laptop, or
it's like every mom
lying to everyone and saying, oh, I have an important meeting, I have to go upstairs and do it on Zoom right now, and then just writing for half an hour. My husband was also really supportive, so he would see my eyes kind of glaze over, like, oh, she needs a minute.
She needs a minute. She needs a minute.
Just go upstairs and write. And it's just, I think one thing that I'm proud of through all of the ups and downs of, yes, it took the 10 years and there were agent rejections, and I'll tell you all about that as well. There was real joy in writing this. I love to write, so I got a chance to do what I loved, and it's just stolen moments of time. I think the most disciplined that I was with it is before the pandemic. When I started to write, I would just go into the office early in the mornings and write before the workday began. And that's, I think, the most structured that I've been. I left my job last June to focus on writing full time. So now I'm a lot more disciplined.
Good for you.
With it. Yeah, the corporate
That's amazing.
life is exhausting.
I can't wait to see like a part 2 of this. I cannot wait to see. Not even, it doesn't have to be a part 2, but I can't wait to see like more stories like this.
Yeah.
We need a part 2 on how hard it is to leave a corporate lifestyle. And
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's not even the lifestyle. It's to leave that paycheck, that consistent paycheck.
That paycheck. There's, the pros and the cons. There's
Absolutely.
The paycheck and the team and the work wife. And there's also really difficult managers and insane expectations and,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of it. So leaving that, and now full-time author, I write every single day, and I'm really, really disciplined with it.
That's awesome.
So with the fact, because this leads me, I'm so glad that you said leaving corporate, and because that leads me right to my next question. A lot of people out there, especially a lot of like young women, probably have similar stories to share with you, but haven't been brave enough to break the cycle of what will people think.
Yes.
Right? So like, how do you, like, what can, just offer some advice. Like if you could be, you know, queen for a day, and you could be in charge of telling all of these young women, here's how you're going to do this, and here's how this is going to happen. Here's the best, here's the worst. Like, just give them some advice, because someone out there is going to be inspired by this. I'm just going to let you know that right now.
You know what? I think our time and our energy is so precious, and we forget that. And when you're a mom, or when you have really important responsibilities at work, you kind of get sucked in, and you are on that hamster wheel. And I think for me, it came during a hard time during the pandemic. It was just pure burnout. Like I felt like I was doing everything for everyone else but myself. Maybe it was the midlife crisis, turning 40 point of, oh my gosh, half my life is over. How am I intentionally spending my time, and why don't I do more of the things that I really like? And when you're kind of A-type the way that I have been, because I'm a good Arab girl who did the whole Ivy League thing and did banking, even though she hated it, before I finally got that confidence to turn to writing, which is one of my true loves. I think I just needed to believe in myself, and actively building confidence it's something you work on. I wasn't naturally born with it, in the sense of like I'd write something and just know immediately that it was going to be great. So write with joy, or if you're a creative person, proceed with joy, but also take that pressure off. There's no performance reviews the way that there are with jobs, or there's no grades the way there are with college and exams and all of that. Do the thing. Do it repeatedly so that you get better and better and better. And if you do it enough, someone will eventually say yes, which is what happened with me. So I think it's just about that determination, but not in the workhorse kind of way. Yeah. Persistence, because you actually really enjoy this thing. All of this time, no one was breathing down my neck to get pages done. I did it because I love it. And I think that's why I succeeded at the end of the day, as opposed to work where you have a deadline and you have to do whatever it is you need to deliver in order to get the paycheck. It's reversing that process. But if you do it right, I think it can lead to really great results and bring that financial freedom, hopefully, that we're all looking for. Why else?
Right? Aren't we all?
Yes.
Aren't we all?
So you talked about just like be persistent and, keep trying, keep working, keep practicing. But my question is, how in the beginning of the interview, you mentioned how people ask you, oh, is that your grandma? And you're like, no, my grandma didn't have an affair with a British soldier. So my question to you is this, people who are kind of worried, like, new writers who are worried, oh, do I share? Because like every writer, let's be honest, every writer takes stuff from their personal life and incorporates it into their writing. Sure. So for those people who are kind of, they want to tell their story. Like I have a really good friend of mine, and I always tell her, write your book. Your story is amazing. And she's always worried about, well, what are people going to think? I mean, this title is
Send
so
her
perfect.
This book in the mail.
And it's like we're still worried. We're concerned about how we're going to be perceived, or is this a, but like, I want to talk about the Arab culture aspect of it. Like, oh, it's, oh my God, can you believe this lady had an affair with a, what I mean?
Well, there's that, like, I felt like I'm glad that you said that, because I felt like there's a couple of things that were taboo, right? Like, like you have like a gay friend who's Arab, and you have the grandmother who had an affair. I don't even know if her and the grandfather were married before the marriage that happened.
So you're just going to tell everybody, like, Hanan, don't spoil it for the readers.
But all these taboo things, like, did anybody ever stop and look at you and be like, Sara, are you nuts? Like, what are you writing? Just because it's fiction doesn't mean you should actually put it out there.
And I want to know, also, I know we're like asking so many questions, but I also want to know your family's reaction to this book.
Was your grandma like, girl?
Well, you know what? With fiction, you have license to play.
That's true.
And people know that. And the second thing I'm going to say is some of the raciest stuff that I've seen in the Arab world has been those Ramadan series.
Oh my God, you're so right.
I remember watching one, and it was one of those famous actresses, I forget which one, and she's like licking a watermelon really sensually in the opening. I'm like, what am I watching? This is bordering on on something really inappropriate.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, if they don't care, then why should I care? And I also think that as a creative person, if you are an artist and something scares you and you are terrified of what people will think, you're probably onto something really good, because that means that you are being honest and there is something raw. If it makes you nervous, I think is actually a really good thing. I'm terrified with most of the writing that I put out. And the earlier works that I did were not the same way. And I got many, many rejections on those works because there wasn't real truth there. I was always trying to mask it and make sure that things were proper and good the way that we're taught to. But I think people appreciate when the masks come off a little. Everyone has been there. You said yourself, you see yourself and some of your thoughts and feelings in this. We all think this way. We just don't talk about it sometimes. Again, I will reiterate, it's fiction. So of course, a lot of this is not true. And I stand behind that, as my...
That's your disclaimer.
So this way your teta's not like, girl.
Plead the fifth. But I did only give a copy to my parents after I had it bound, like it was already sent to the publisher. So the first initial.
How excited were they when they got that?
I told my parents, I was like, if there's anything you have to say, you have to say it now, because this is going to be printed in a month and we're done.
So how did they react?
I'm sure they were proud of you.
They were really proud. I think they've seen me wanting to be a writer for so long. So it was also, I can see it myself with my own children. Like it's a dream come true, which is really nice. It's like if you have a child who loves to sing and suddenly they get a record deal, it's part of it is that feeling. But then for a long time, I tried to convince my parents that being a writer is a worthy way to live your life. And I think they didn't really, really believe that I was good until this happened.
So that actually leads me to my next question. And I love that. But I feel like you said something really important in your last answer, is that yes, your parents have, have seen you really wanting to do this, but also you kind of pushed yourself to a point where you hadn't before, right? So how do you feel like writing this book overall has changed you? And how do you plan to move forward? What are next steps for you? Because I feel like this is, and maybe for me, I'm obviously super biased. I loved it, right?
Yes, it was a great book.
It was wonderful. But how do you feel like this has changed you? And then what do you see yourself writing next? What are our plans? Give me some give me some tea here. I need to know what's happening, what's coming.
I feel like this book helped me come home to myself, because I had to think really actively about who I am. Yeah. There are elements of me.
I'm gonna cry again.
There are elements of me that are in every single character. There are bits of me sprinkled in Mia and in Phaedra and in the grandmother and in the grandfather. Every single one of those characters. It's almost like method acting. And I got to write and then get into the mind of all of these different characters. It's just the most wonderful feeling. And I think one thing I learned about myself is I was always working really hard to have this amazing career and to prove that I was good enough. But the only way that I felt good enough was to do something for myself. And that was where this book came in. And it's just been a wonderful thing of it getting published. Getting published alone is so hard.
That's a big achievement.
So stacked against you,
and a pretty big publisher too.
I know.
Yeah, and it was this marvelous 2-book deal, and it's historic, and one of the biggest deals to come out of the Middle East for a contemporary author. So there's also the pressure that comes with that of, oh my gosh, what are you going to do next? Yeah. How am I going to possibly measure up to this again, where this book made the New York Times recommended reading list and Forbes and, got this spotlight on the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show? I have to make sure that I keep hitting at this high level. And the only way that I can do that is to write stuff that scares the shit out of me. So I have to just dig really
absolutely
deep.
Well, I'm excited. If it's scaring the shit out of you, then it'll probably scare me too.
No, I honestly, I love more of this. And like I said to you before we even started recording, one of my nieces just moved away to college, and she's probably one of the sweetest, most beautiful, not because she's my niece, but truly sweetest, most beautiful, most kind, most smartest girls I know. Shout out Hannah. I think you're amazing. And honestly, she's the first kid in her family. It's only her and her sister, but she went away to college. Like she moved away from home and, you know, she's 18. It's her fresh start. So like, I think something like this is gonna like hit home with her. I fully plan on having her read this book because I think she is so focused on being the best version, most excellent version of her, like version of herself and of anybody that's her age or doing what she wants to do. And so I feel like this book is gonna tell her like, no girl, like enjoy your life. Like you're good. People out there are not as like they're not as perfect as as you think they are. And that's one of the things that I think I loved so much about this book is that she found her like misfit friends, right? She learns that like, hey, I'm not perfect, and it's okay because they're not either. Nobody is perfect. Even the people that she thought were the most perfect, that she was afraid to discuss who her, you know, her true self with, they're not perfect either. And I love that so much because it, like I said, it humanizes us. You realize that you realize that even the closest people to you, you may not know everything about them, right? And just in conversation, and I love that because like that's a huge thing for us in our culture. Like you don't really, you're kind of like afraid to talk to your mom and dad openly. You're afraid to talk to your grandparents openly. There's a lot of taboo subjects, and I love that that book breaks that. Like, hey, if you just had a conversation, you would find out that the person sitting next to you
is a human
being. And so I love that. What a surprise.
Thank you.
I know.
But again, it's just spot on what you're saying because I wanted to break that model minority myth as well. Like you're always expected to, either in TV shows or in any stories, Arabs are shown as the bad guys, or they're shown as the perfect person who's like trying really hard to be the banker and, you know, show up in the right way. And I really, really wanted to have flawed women who make mistakes and are still lovable and you're rooting for them. So they make inappropriate choices. They make obviously wrong choices, but you understand the context of what led to that and then how they overcome it and come into their own. I just needed to show people who weren't perfect, and that is also great.
I love that so much. I love that they weren't perfect. I love that they were just like regular humans with feelings.
Man, I was yelling at her. I was like, girl, it's not going to work out.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, it's not going to work out.
That was me. You know what's funny? I told Lina, I was like on page, and I you know,
I take notes when I'm
reading.
This one just remembers
on page 91. I read that and I was like, I'm not even kidding, Sara. I like shed a tear because I was like, this is not going to go the way that you want it to. He's not here for that. He's here to take you and everything. It's not this bubble that but you know, again, I loved it so much. But now, most importantly, I want to know, where can I get your book? Where can I get the audiobook? How do I support you? For all the listeners out there, because I'm hoping that someone out there is gonna like jive with this the way that we did. So tell me, where do we buy this? Where is it available? And where can we listen to it too?
Thank you so much. And everything that you're saying, I can't tell you how much it means to me because I've written it for you. I've written it for the younger Sarah and the older future
Girl,
Sarah.
I felt like it was for me. You know? I loved it.
So it means a lot because you're exactly who I wanted to receive this, and you've received it so beautifully. So thank you. You can find it in any bookshop. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, at all the indie bookstores. The Audible version is available on Audible, Apple. I mean, it's everywhere that you can, any major bookseller, and you can find reviews on Goodreads. It's gotten really great reception so far, and I can't wait to hear what more people think of what people think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Did you have any other questions?
So you know what? I do have one last question because we had all these questions, but what is one question you wish, you know, more people would ask you specifically about the book or about your writing journey that we haven't asked?
I love that. Maybe a bit about the cover inspiration, because that one took quite a bit of back and forth, and it's subtle, but there's an olive tree on there, you know, peace and Palestine. There's also, do you see the little embroidery?
I do.
The border, the top and the bottom.
Yeah. I have it up on the screen too.
So that's original Tatriz that comes from a village near Jaffa. And then you have the New York City skyline, and it's all about sunrise colors and hope. And again, I just wanted a feeling of love and joy and cheesy harmony for a change, because I think being Palestinian is so beautiful and we don't get to see that beauty often. And I wanted it there front and center.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. And you know what's funny? I'm one of those weirdos that, like, just to wrap this up, you know how like people never read like the back of the book. Like people always go in and they like read the inside cover to see what it's about.
No, I read everything.
I start by reading this first, and then I always read the insert in here, right, which is like about the author, and then I go to read what the story is about.
Nice.
But no, I'm so glad that you shared that.
And also just to say that we actually read the books, because when Clarissa reached out, I'm like, yeah, but send us the book so we can read it.
Exactly, and we'll read the book. No, honestly, like I cannot thank you enough for sharing this story with us.
Yes.
I have this feeling, this strange feeling that somebody is going to have the same exact feeling out there that I have. And I'm like, I always say I'm 45. And so if I have all these feelings and emotions, I'm sure somebody who is much younger than me, right? And I would love honestly,
Yeah.
they're gonna have the same feeling, because I feel like it really is a wonderful representation of us living here. I loved all of the kind of the small breaks where you see her relationship with her grandmother, with her friends, all of these little words in Arabic, just everything. I loved everything about it. It was my Arabic version of "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret." I loved it. I really,
And it's a great read, dude.
Yeah.
You won't put it down. You want to finish it. I mean, it took me 3 days. It took you 3 hours.
It took
right?
it took me
Wow.
exactly. It took me 3.5 hours to get to it cover to cover.
That's incredible. I can't
Yeah.
believe that. I love to
Yeah.
hear it.
So
Well,
even
yeah.
my husband looked at me. He came upstairs. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like this in bed.
Oh, no.
And he's literally, I was like this, and he's like, "You're a monster." I'm like, "I'm almost done. There's like 5 pages left, and I'll be finished."
I love it.
Yeah. But Sara, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this incredible book. Everyone, what will people think?
Yes.
You know that I'm at a point where I don't give a crap what people think,
Yeah.
but you're gonna love this.
And we'll put links. We'll link it, where you can get it and where you can also get the audiobook.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hardcover is out now. The paperback comes out next May.
Oh, okay.
And
Amazing.
then a year later will be book 2.
I can't
So
wait.
hopefully we'll
So
get
the
a chance
book
to talk
2
about that.
Okay, well, definitely. But book 2,
Next
it's totally different story than this, right?
Completely different
Okay.
story,
Okay.
but it will
Okay.
have touches of, what you liked in this one, in the sense
Okay,
that there
Yeah.
is some American experience. There's a lot of creativity. There's female friendships, but it's a completely different story.
Okay.
I love that.
I'm excited.
I love that. I know. I'm telling you. I'm so excited.
Okay, so we'll be the cool ones that get the first dibs on
Yes.
on the review copy,
Yeah.
right?
I
I'll
don't know
let
about that.
Clarissa know.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so much, Sara. This was amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
This was amazing. Have a great day.
You too.
too.